Hi guys. So today we're talking about tying blanks, and I feel like that's kind of sort of like the most basic reed making skill. At least I know when I was learning as a kid, tying a blank was the first thing I learned. And then for my students now, that's the first thing I teach them when they start learning to make reeds. So yeah, we've got a couple people, so I guess we'll just go ahead and get started. Oh, I didn't introduce myself. My name is Michelle Feng. I'm the Associate Principal Oboe of the Hawaii Symphony Orchestra, and really good to see you all here today. So let's get started. Just feel free to comment if you have questions or anything through this process. Okay, so first of all, let me get my staples. I've got my piece of gouged cane here. We talked a bit about gouging last time, but let's see, is it going to focus? Yeah. You can see that I've marked the what do you call it? The thickness there. It's 58, just over 58. So when I measured it with my micrometer, this thing, it was just over 58. I always keep track. Oh, and I also mark the diameter there. It's 10.75. I always keep track of things like this because the better record you have, then eventually you'll start seeing trends, and that'll help you in your reed making, like determining what sort of cane works best for you, what sort of tubes, that sort of thing. Okay, so this, you can see my reed making notebook. I've written down the type of cane, the diameter, the shaper tip that I'm going to use, the date that it was gouged on, and the thickness of the gouge. And the tubes I'm going to use are these Glotan silver tubes. They're 47 millimeters, and I've been using them for a long time. They work well for me. Okay, so the first thing we have to do is shape this piece of cane. And the first thing to do, this thing is called an easel, and it's like just supports the curve of the cane. So you notice it's got like a halfway mark. I mark it there. And then I've got these, for this part of reed making, I've got all my old dull knives because I don't want to waste my my new sharp ones just on taking off bark and that sort of thing. So what I do is I just lightly take off a little bit of bark. This is an optional step. A lot of people don't do it, but I find it helps my cane to fold better. Just take off a bark around the middle where we're going to fold it. Can you see how the bark has been taken off in the middle there, and it's like it's not shiny. It's not shiny here where the barks come off. Okay, I'll put it back on the easel now. Then we're going to score the cane so that it folds easily. So there's this middle line that goes all around the easel, right? So I've got a pretty old dull, and oh gosh, it's rusty too. This was like my first reed knife that my first teacher ever gave me. Anyway. But it's great for folding because it's dull, so there's not much risk that you're going to press too hard and actually cut it in half. That's why I actually like to use an old dull knife for this part. So I'm just pressing lightly, and I've got the bottom of my knife in that groove there. You don't want to press too hard, otherwise you're going to cut it in half a little, and it's kind of, you don't want to do that. Sometimes it's easy to cut it in half kind of on the side if you press too hard. Okay. Now, wow, it's kind of hard to see, but I've done it so lightly, I think that the camera can barely even see it. Let me see if I can get it to fold. Can you see a little bit, hopefully, where I've scored it? Okay, so once you've scored it like that, then taking the same knife, I'm putting it here and lining up the scored part, the line with the edge of the knife, and then I'm going to fold down. So always fold rather slowly because that'll make your hinge a little bit more even, and also if you fold too fast it's just more risky, you might damage the cane. So that's the sort of fold I like to see. You see how it's like a little bit of that rounded shape in the middle and then it tapers off nicely. It's not like the two sides aren't splaying apart, you know, like this. Sometimes you'll get a, let me find a scrap paper. Sometimes you'll get a piece of cane where you, after you fold it and you're looking at it like this, it looks like really round, like that. So that I don't like. And then sometimes you'll get one where it looks almost flat, like this. So that probably means it's going to be too closed, and that means the reed's going to be too open and flat. So this one, it's a little bit more on the closed side, but it looks pretty good. So you want to go for something that's like kind of in the middle like that. Alright, so now we got this. I'm going to put it on my shaper tip. The tip I'm using is an old Mac Plus. I've experimented with some of them, but I just find that one works best for me. Now, if you notice, like this part is too wide to actually fit on, so I have to take a little bit of cane off. Just taking off a tiny bit on the top. See? Let's see if it fits now. Yep, that seems good. And I actually shape at the, with this shape, since it's rather narrow, I put the cane at the, so it lines up with the top of the ears. That's what we call these things. Actually, I didn't take off enough off the side yet, so I'm just going to do that. I'm curious what shaper tips everybody uses. So let me know if you have a favorite. Okay. That's a good looking opening. Okay, let's try this again. I'm lining up the top of my cane with the top of the ears there. Where's my ruler? Sorry, I usually like to use my ruler, there we go, to help me with this part. Like sometimes I use my ruler to push it down like this so that it's level. Yep. And then, oh gosh, this is going to be hard to show on the camera. Then what I do is I use, let's see if I can do this. I look at it through the lamp. Oh, the lamp is super bright, but you can see kind of, oh, there we go. You can kind of see like on the sides how much cane is showing on each side. So I'll check it. I can't really hold it like this while I'm holding the phone, but I'll check it on both sides. That's what I'm going to do right now to see that the same amount of cane is showing on each side. I'm just like lightly screwing it in so that it holds it, but now I'll check it on both sides and make sure it's even. It looks like there might be a tiny bit more on the right side. Yeah, there's a tiny bit more on this side, so I'm going to fix that. Okay, I'll check it again. I'm checking it now, but I can't do it properly while I'm holding the phone. It's still going slightly over that way. I think it's because I didn't take off enough on this side, so it's kind of bumping up against the edge of the ears. Let me try one more time. Okay, lining it up with the top of the ears. Using my ruler to make sure it's flush. Looking at it in the light again. It looks a bit better. I don't know. What do you think? It's not bad. I think that's good enough for our purposes. Okay, so now that I've made sure that the cane is sitting right in the middle of the shaper, I'm screwing it in pretty tight because you really don't want your cane to shake around. That's bad. It's really bad. Okay, the razor blades I use for shaping, I don't use the gem super sharp ones because those are just, it's too sharp for shaping. I usually use like the ones you can get at the hardware store. I can't remember what it's called, but there's like one that comes in a orange container, like a plastic container with an orange label, and it comes in a pack of 100, and that's my favorite one for shaping. So as you can see, I'm keeping my blade pretty low angled. I'm not holding it like perpendicular or anything. The angle is pretty low, and I'm just going at it little bit by little bit. You don't want to overdo it here, because if you accidentally gouge out a little bit too far on each side, then that's gonna ruin the blank and the way it seals. So you want both sides to be nice and even. Okay, and you just keep doing that until no more cane comes off. Okay, next side. Hope I'm staying in the camera view. It's kind of hard to do this with the camera right up in my face. There we go. Yeah, so now it's actually a good test, is just feeling it. It feels pretty smooth and like the cane is flush with the metal. So that's that. So what I was saying before, if you like press too hard, or like if your blade is crooked to one side, you might carve in accidentally too far, like on one side. You don't want to do that. That's not good. Okay. All right, and now this is just, I guess everybody has a slightly different preference in their steps. A lot of the steps I do are optional, like this one. I'm just holding the razor blade and taking off the ear on this side and on this side. The reason I do these two ears is because when I tie it, I'm gonna slip my blades, and this is the side that's going to be on the inside of the slip. Now, if that doesn't make sense right now, I'll explain more when we get closer to it. But anyway, that's an optional step, what I just did, and so is this. I just use a very, very fine, how many grit is this? Oh, it doesn't say on this bit. But anyway, it's a super fine sandpaper. Just to make sure there's no bits of cane poking out. Swish it in the water. Oh, I should have explained that at the very beginning. The most obvious first step is you gotta soak your cane in there until you soak it until it sinks. So this one's, I've also got soaking and sinking. Usually it takes, for me, I soak for like, I don't know, 30 minutes to an hour. And it should be sunken by then. If it hasn't, then there's probably something weird with the cane. But okay, so now we're actually ready to tie the blank. I think I'm gonna have to adjust my camera back a little bit here. Alright, so, oh, maybe I should use a brighter color of thread. Don't think you can see that very well. Let's try this blue one here. Hopefully that'll be more visible. I should have worn my better jeans today. These ones are super old. Okay, anyway, I have this C-clamp I've got stuck on my table, and it's pretty nice and heavy duty. It's a good anchor for me to tie onto. Okay, and this is also an optional step, is I have a little bit of beeswax, and I run it. I wonder if I can get a better angle there. I run the beeswax along a length of thread. The beeswax gives me a better grip when I'm tying, so the cane won't slip. And then I have my Glotan silver 47mm tube I mentioned earlier, and this is the Glotan mandrel. I think it's the Ferrillo style mandrel. Push that down. Actually, you don't need to push it down super hard, just enough to make sure that it's not going to wiggle around when you're tying. Okay, here we go. Opening still looks good. It's kind of opened up a little bit after getting shaped. Sometimes that happens, but it looks pretty good still. Alright, so I tie my blanks at about 73.5 millimeters. And that's just what I found works with this shape and for my way of making reeds. I was always told that you tie your blanks as long as possible, as long as they seal. So, depending on your shape, it might be shorter or longer. I'm just checking with my ruler, getting it to about 73.5 there. I don't think it's gonna focus on the ruler, unfortunately, but oh, it did. Miracle. Yeah, so you can see the top of the cane is about 73.5. Okie dokie, and then what I do is I turn it over on the side and make a mark. Can you see? I'm going to make a mark at the top of the tube here so that when I'm tying, I can see it on my cane. See that? Just a light pencil mark. Okay, now the next step I'm going to do is optional. Actually, my really good friend and colleague, Leo Zaporin, he plays English horn with us. He taught me this method of tying, and since then I've been like, oh my god, it's amazing. So, this is optional. I don't really know of many people who do it, so when Leo showed it to me, I was like, oh my god. What I did is I just loosely wrapped up and down. Do you see what I did there? Did I do it too fast? So I start quite far with the thread quite far below the top of the tube and then loosely wrapping around pretty much to the top and then turning around and loosely wrapping it down the other way. Oh, I didn't have it on there very evenly, but no matter. And then you just really, really, really gently pull. Probably can't see any difference on the camera, but oh, well, it's sealing, it's closing up a little bit more. Yeah. Okay, there, it's more closed up. I don't know if you can tell now, but that supposedly makes it seal better all up the top of the reed. It like preps the reed to seal, and I think it works. Okay, so now I'm going to do the actual tying, but I wonder if I should move the camera down a little bit. I feel like you might not be able to see it well. Okay, let's see if that's any better. Okay, so now I've like prepped the cane. Shoot, I can't find my mark. I'm going to have to check with the ruler again. This cane is called French, and I got it as tube cane from my favorite cane company, Mendoza U Oboe Reeds. They're based in Vancouver, and they are really, really nice. And their cane, I have to say, in recent years, I haven't found any other cane that beats it. I've had good results every time. Okay, I better make that mark again since it kind of got erased. There we go. Alright, now I'm going to tie for real. So when I tie for real, I start with the thread like 2 to 4, maybe about 4 wraps. Probably about 4 wraps, now that I think of it, below the top of the tube. Wrap twice. And now I'm checking to see that both sides are even. This side is closed and the other is not, so I'm opening it up with my thumb. Now it looks more even. Good. I check it from the top like this to see if it's twisted on the tube. It was a little bit twisted, so I'm making it even. Can you see that? See how it's lined up with the mandrel now? Okay. Wrapping up to the pencil mark. And then Oh, I probably did that too fast for you. See, wrapping up to the pencil mark, and then when I'm up to the pencil mark, I cross it over and start wrapping on the left side. And then before I continue, I always check with my ruler to make sure I didn't tie past 47 millimeters, because I'm using 47 millimeter tubes. Just to double check that I didn't tie past that pencil mark. I'm actually kind of under the pencil mark, so I'm going to do one more wrap. Let's see. That's like right at 47. I'm pretty careful at this stage because you don't want to go over the top of your tube, which I might be like half a wrap over, so I'm just going to go backwards by half a wrap. Because if you tie over the top of your tube, it's going to restrict the vibrations of the reed. Okay, that's definitely not tied over. And then, oh gosh, I don't know how I'm going to show this bit on camera. What I'm going to do is actually like use my mouth to test the suction here and here. It's not focusing at all, but like I'm going to test the suction along the edge where to see if it's sealing there, and also on the other side. Probably get a lot of my hair in the camera. Sealing. Turn it around, try the other side. Seems to be sealing both sides, so that's the go ahead to wrap it all the way down. And that's basically how I wrap a blank. I would say it's a pretty standard sort of process, but the thing that really helps me lately is that optional step at the beginning, you know, where I wrapped it all the way up and then down and I pulled it gently. That seems to really help with making the reed seal well. Because if you do a sloppy tying job, if it's not tight enough, then the cane might like flop around a little bit, right? Or if it doesn't seal on both sides, then you're just not going to have a good reed no matter what. No matter how you scrape it, it's not going to turn into a good reed. Okay, so there's the blank. 73.5. Yeah. And this part, the thread, I went up to, it's actually just under 47. That's good, what I like to see. And now, at this point, I'm going to take off the ears on the other side as well. And then I like to use my sandpaper again and just holding the reed flat, kind of sand this edge and the other side so I get a smooth edge. That's all. I have to say that tying is my least favorite part because there's so much adjustments involved in like making sure the cane is centered, making sure it's straight and it's not twisted, and then that you're not tying over 47. It's like you just have to stop so many times to check it. So even though it's the first thing I teach my students, it's actually kind of a tricky thing and I don't like doing it. Okay, and then I've got a slightly less dull knife. It doesn't want to focus. Maybe if I go over here, with which I'm just going to take off the bark. Scraping on the right side and left side, kind of in channels, and I'll go over the center a little bit in the heart area, but not when I get down into the bottom half of the reed. I'm going to definitely stay in the channels because I don't want to destroy the spine. I don't want to destroy the rails. So some people don't do this step. They just when they finish tying their blanks, they just leave it with the bark still on. I find that taking the bark off for me helps it seal better, but people have different preferences. And then I would also what I do, I also take off a little bit of extra along the hinge here, because that's going to help it seal as well. And it's going to make it less open, well, less likely to flare open at the top. A good blank is one that really seals well along the two edges. So a lot of the stuff I do, a lot of these optional steps are all to that end, hopefully. But you never know with cane, so sometimes you do everything you can and the cane just doesn't cooperate. But that's how I would leave my blank. And let's take a look at the opening. Yeah, that looks like a good opening. It's not like completely flat, but it's not super open either. Do the suction test. There's another suction test you can do. So the suction test, you like plug the bottom part of the tube and then suck on the top. You see, that little sound when the air goes through is when I remove my tongue from the tip of the reed. I'm basically doing that inside the reed. That's good suction because you can tell that no air is escaping. That is exactly what I like to see. So, pretty happy with this blank. Gonna put it away and work on it probably tomorrow. This is also a personal preference of mine. I don't start scraping my blanks right away because I think they need time to dry out and like seal properly along the side. Like every time it dries, the cane sort of moves and changes, right? So just for me, I like to do my reeds in over several days because then the cane has more time to dry out and change its shape slightly. And then when you soak it up next time, it's going to be slightly different. But if you do it over several days, then the effect of it is kind of spread out, and then you end up with a more consistent reed. Instead of like if I were to scrape this all right now and try and play on it tomorrow, it would feel completely different tomorrow. You know what I mean? So that's the reason why I do that. Anyway, I'm going to tie another blank, but unless you guys have any questions for me, I guess I'll end the live stream because I'm just going to do the same thing over and it's going to be pretty boring. Okay? Alright, well, thank you all for watching. I hope you're doing well at home. I realized I haven't really played a lot in these live streams at all. Actually, my partner commented that to me the other day. He was like, Joanne plays a lot in her live stream. How come you don't? And then I said, well, because it's about reeds. And I don't know, I don't really play that much when I make reeds. But if you guys want to hear me play, I'm doing like a live stream mini concert series on my personal Facebook. And the dates are not set because it's just kind of how fast I learned the music. So we had the first one, I think, 2 weeks ago? Anyway, if you follow my personal Instagram, then I'll post there when the next episode is going to happen. My personal Instagram is Pasha Michelle, PASHAMICHELLE. So, and I think probably we'll share it on this page as well when I do that. I don't know what they're planning on posting, but if you guys want to hear some playing, that would be where to find me. Okay, well anyway, I hope that the reed making sessions have helped and been informative and hopefully not too boring. Super nerdy, I know. Okay, so I'm gonna leave you guys now. I hope you're doing well and taking care of yourselves, and hopefully not too stressed out. Okay, gonna go tie a blank now. Bye.